everyone, we need to have a quick conversation about your proposals and about your picking a topic. There's been some stress and confusion that you shouldn't be having. And I think that if we'd been in person talking about these things, I would have been able to kind of nip it in the bud, so to speak, a little bit better. So I just want to talk about your hypotheses and hopefully put your mind at ease about them. First, your hypothesis that is in your research proposal, that is a guess. It's a direction. It's a diving board. It's a place to start from. Even if you don't know where you're going to end up, you have to know where you're starting from. You don't need to have anything close to a real thesis statement or a real position or a real argument. I don't want to use that word, and I'll explain why later. You just need to know where you start. So let's say, for example, you know you want to talk about psychedelic mushrooms. You don't need to know at the very end exactly which mental illnesses they're going to help with and what the studies say and what your final position is going to be. But you could know, I think there's something about mental health and mushrooms that's interesting, and I think it sounds like it could be good. That's enough. Or if you're talking about trucks, you could say, I want to talk about electric trucks and it seems like they won't be able to compete with real trucks. Or if you're talking about rhinoplasties, you don't have to know exactly, I want to talk about how this procedure is better than that procedure, but you could just say, I know they're interesting and I guess there are different positions on it. I don't know what those are yet, but I'm going to probably discover there's different ways of doing it. Even that is okay. It's just a direction. It's just a starting point. So instead of using the word hypothesis, I would rather call it, it's kind of the wrong word, your current understanding, your current knowledge, what you know right now. Hypothesis is probably too concrete, too scientific for the way I want you to think about it. I just want you to be aware of where you start, where you are right now. So think of it as your current understanding. So many of you are putting your cart before the horse and thinking that hypothesis means something like final thesis. It doesn't mean that. It just means, where are you right now? You wouldn't have picked your topic if you didn't know something about it. It's not like you just Googled topics I don't know anything about and then picked something you'd never heard of. So you know something about it. And because you know something about it, you should be able to figure out where you are. You're not an expert, I bet. And that's okay. You don't have to be. A little while ago, I read this thing to you, and I want to read it to you one more time. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's called The Unending Conversation. And as I've talked with a couple of you about your topics and about your projects and about your proposals, this keeps coming to mind. This isn't just some cute thing that you could put on your missionary plaque. This really is the way you need to understand your project and your research. I'm going to read it to you again because it's that important. Don't fast forward this. Listen. Imagine you enter a conversation parlor. You come late. When you arrive, others have long preceded you, and they are engaged in a heated discussion. A discussion too heated for them to pause and tell you exactly what it is about. So you've come into a room, people are having a conversation, and it seems like a kind of exciting conversation. But the conversation is so exciting that they don't have time to stop and say, oh, Carissa, let me bring you up to speed. They're just going to keep talking. But in fact, the conversation had already begun long before any of them got there, so that no one present is qualified to retrace for you all the steps that had gone before. Because if they're talking about rhinoplasties, no surgeon alive has been alive long enough to have seen the entire history of nose surgeries. That's insane. They weren't there. They were once upon a time in the same position you're in, not knowing anything about a topic that other people know something about. And so what do? You walk into this room, they're having a conversation, and no one can stop and tell you what it's about. This is what you do. This is what research is. You listen for a while until you decide that you have caught the gist of the conversation. I'm using the word conversation instead of argument. Then you put in your or. Someone answers, you answer him, another comes to your defense, another aligns himself against you to either the embarrassment or gratification of your opponent, depending on the quality of your ally's assistance. However, the discussion is interminable, the hour grows late, you must depart, and you do depart, with the discussion still vigorously in process. The one thing I don't like about this, I guess, as I'm reading it now, I don't like the word argument or debate, because a conversation is not necessarily a debate. It's true that there could be heated debates about your topics. That's entirely possible and maybe even likely. However, listen. Those of you in the back, stand up, look at me, listen. It does not have to be a controversial debate. Did you hear that? It does not have to be a controversial debate. It does not need to be pro, con, for, or against, because that's insane. Because let's say you want to write about heroin, okay? Are there people out there worth listening to that say heroin is good and everyone should do it? No, that's crazy. Does that mean that you can't research heroin? Of course not. Because if it meant that, there'd be no one else out there, there'd be no scientists studying this stuff. You don't need to have a for or against. Like with global warming, no one worth listening to, no real scientist out there says that climate change isn't happening. So does that mean they're all done and there's no more climate scientists? No. It means what they do now is research the best way to tackle it, or what are the likely causes of it, or how is it likely to evolve. So even in a field where people agree that like nose surgeries are a thing, or trucks are things that we all like, there's still conversations that are happening. And it's not a fight, it's not an argument. Somewhere in your classes a long time ago, you have learned that argument means I'm right, you're wrong, let's fight. That is not what this paper is. This paper is a conversation. And that seems so crazy to you because you think, but I gotta have a debate. I gotta be against somebody. I gotta be for somebody. It's gotta be pro, con. I gotta have a rebuttal. That's not the way real research works. That's not the way real research works. Real research is a conversation. And I mean conversation in the same way that you understand the word conversation. You are talking to your friends. And are you always fighting? I guess some of you might be fighting with your friends all the time. But no, if every conversation you ever had was a debate, life would be exhausting. Me and Mr. Henriksen, at lunch, we talk about TV shows that we both like. We both watch Bob's Burgers, and we talk about it. We both watch Star Trek, and we talk about it. And it's not, I like Star Trek and you don't, let me tell you why you're wrong. It's like, oh, I like that episode for this reason. Oh, that's interesting, I didn't think of that. I like it for this reason. Oh, I thought of that, and actually that connects to this. And we're agreeing, but we're still talking. You can have conversations with people you agree with. How about that? So, you do not need to have a pro-con. Can I say that any more clearly? You do not need to have a pro-con debate. It's not an argument in the way you're used to understanding the word argument. It's not a fight. Okay. Whew. Felt passion there. Did you feel that? Feel the spirit there? Okay. Some of you are worried about topics. Every topic can work. Every topic imaginable can work. I say that confidently and with convictions because I know that this world is so big and the internet is so vast that there are conversations that exist about anything you can imagine. Now, that being said, some conversations are easier to find than others. For example, it might be easier to find a conversation about the causes of climate change than it would be to find a conversation about, I don't know, Japanese architecture's influence on the design of the Salt Lake Temple. Right? There's probably someone out there that's interested in that. And if you tried hard enough, you could find someone. I could probably do that. Find somebody who wants to have that conversation. But that's a hard conversation to find. That being said, the point is any conversation can work. So what you have to do is balance your interest in the topic with how easy it is to find that conversation. And if you have two topics that are equally interesting and one has a conversation that is really easy to find, and another one has a conversation you can't find, then you follow the path of least resistance. You go with the flow and you go towards the conversation that's easier to find. Now, if you have a topic that you're so passionate about and you want to make it work, I guarantee you I can make it work for you. That together we can figure it out, okay? No matter what your topic is. Now, don't be petulant or obstinate and think, well, my topic's different. It's not. It's not. And that's not because you're not special and your idea isn't interesting. Your idea is interesting. It's just the nature of human beings that there is a conversation about everything. I guarantee you. Okay. Every topic can work. Don't overthink it. At some point, it's a leap of faith. At some point, you say, it looks like there's some conversations about this. I'm just going to go for it. Even if I don't know exactly what my final position will be, even if I don't fully understand the conversation, I'm going to trust that the way human beings work, and I'm going to trust Mr. Gunther, that there is a conversation about it. I mean, like, for example, you can't possibly know if you're going to like a movie. Let me word that better. You can't possibly know what conversation you want to have with your friends about a movie before you watch the movie, right? Let's say we're all going to go watch the new Marvel movie. We can't plan our conversation beforehand. We can't plan beforehand, whether or not we're going to like it and what we're going to say about it. Now, we might have hints or guesses. For example, me, I know I'm kind of sick of Marvel movies. I kind of hate superhero movies. And so, for example, when I went to go watch Thor Ragnarok, I thought, great, another superhero movie. And that would be my hypothesis, right? I hadn't seen it yet, but my guess was I wasn't going to like it. But I went into it and I liked it, right? You can't really know until you do the research. You can have a guess, and all a guess is a starting point. It just means that you understand where you start from. Okay. And even if you are going into the movie, you can still have a gist about what the movie's going to be about. Like if it's a horror film or a superhero film or romantic comedy. And that can give you some indication about what you might end up talking about, but you never really know until you do the research. And you haven't started doing research. So the word hypothesis freaked you out. I know it did. And the word proposal is freaking you all out. I know, and I'm sorry. And I think if we were meeting in person, I could have calmed you down a little bit more. But all a proposal is you saying, here's something I'm interested in. Here's what I understand about it right now. And this is the direction I think I'm going to go in. It's just a statement of intent. You can't possibly know where you're going to go until you go there. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next video.